Dollar Tree carries these floor mats. What I'm going to do is transform it and make it look more summery using some of this yellow acrylic paint. So I'm going to start by stenciling in a lemon print onto it. I did use my Cricut to create this stencil vinyl, but you can also use regular vinyl, or you can just paint on some pizza slices, as I call them, and just create your own lemon slices. And this is how my lemon mat is looking so far. And now what I'm going to be using is some of this nautical rope, because what I want to do with it is create some fringe to my mat. I'll also be using some of this duct tape. So I'll be placing the fringe on this side of the mat and also on the opposite side. So I'm going to start off with a strip of duct tape to the length of what I'm going to need, with the sticky side facing up. Next, I'll be cutting some pieces from the nautical rope about 2.5 inches. Now, as you can see that the nautical rope is entwined with 3 different strips. So I'm gonna unravel those 3 strips, and then I'm gonna take the individual strips and unravel those. Now what I'm trying to do is pretty much flatten it out so that each string is flattened and whitened, so to speak, and then I'm gonna place it on my strip of duct tape, as you see me do right there. And this is how it's looking so far, and now I'm going to continue until I fill the whole strip. Okay, so I'm done with my fringe strip, and now what I'm going to do is just clean it up and cut the length of the fringe to the desired length that I want. So now I'm just going to add some hot glue to the strip, and now that I've lined up my strip to my mat, I'm going to go ahead and place my mat over the strip and then press it down to make sure that the hot glue will adhere. And now that this side is finished, I'm going to go ahead and do now the other side. Lastly, I went ahead and I added some nautical rope, and I just framed all around the mat. Dollar Tree now carries these really nice wall decors. They have this round one, and then they also have a square one. Well, I'm going to be using these for these next projects. And then I headed over to the plasticware, and I got these little small shot glasses and also these taller ones. Okay, I have everything that I need, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm going to start off with this round one, and what I'm going to do first is just remove the hanger. And I'm going to put these beads away because I can use this for another project. I'm going to start off with these longer shot glasses. I want my risers to have 2 different levels, so I'm going to start with this taller one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my shot glasses where I want them to be, and then I'm going to mark them with a pencil, and then I'm going to go ahead and hot glue them onto my board. And by the way, this is the back side of the wall decor. I'm hot gluing the bottom side of the shot glass onto the board. Now for this square one, I'm gonna follow the same steps, except I'm gonna use the shorter shot glasses, and I'm gonna hot glue those to each corner of the back side of my board. Next, I'm going to be using this white Waverly chalk paint in white, and I'll be painting the pedestal legs now. I'm going to let the first coat of paint dry, and then I'll go in with a second coat. And I'll be repeating the same steps to this one that will have shorter legs. Okay, so the paint has dried and this is how it looks. Now, I didn't paint the whole bottom side. I felt that it wasn't necessary, but if you decide to do this project and you want to paint it, go ahead. It's not going to show anyhow. Now, this is how this one turned out with the longer legs. Also, I didn't paint the bottom side. I didn't think that it was necessary. Now, let me show you how I used them in my kitchen countertop. Now for this last project, I'll be using another round wall decor as I did with the first DIY. I've already removed the hanger on this one. This will not be a riser, it's going to be a tray. Now I'm going to be using this Dollar Tree shower rings to create a border around my tray. So what I'm going to do is take a piece of this jute cord and I'm going to hot glue it around the ring. And I'm going to start off at the bottom base of my ring where the two sides meet. I'm just going to put a dab of hot glue, place my jute cord, wait until it cools, and then I'll start wrapping it. I didn't time myself, but it took about 10 minutes for each ring, and I made 11 of these. And just so you know, I would put some hot glue here and there. I didn't put it every time that I would wrap the cord around. And this is what it looks like so far. I'm gonna finish it off and then I'll come back when I'm done with all 11 of them. Okay, I'm done and this is how they turned out. Now they have too many fuzzies on them, so what I'm gonna do is just burn that off. What it'll do is just give it a nice smooth finish to the jute cord. This is what it looks like without the fuzzies and with the fuzzies. Without and with. Okay, so now I'm gonna start hot gluing my rings onto my base. Lastly, I took a piece of jute cord and I wrapped it around two of the rings where they meet, as you see me do there. I went around all of them until all of them had been wrapped together. I hope it makes sense. Well, you'll see once it's done. And this is how it turned out. Now let me show you how I incorporated this tray with my risers. For these projects, I'm going to be using the Tumbling Tower game, and these are the wood blocks, and you get 72 pieces. Now I used 2 of them, like I said, so in total I'll be using 144 wood pieces. I'll also be using these glass vases from Dollar Tree. Now you have the larger one and this smaller one, so I'll be using one of each. Next, what I'm gonna do is start forming a form of blocks around my glass vase. So I'm gonna start by putting one block down, as you see me there, and then I'll be adding another one and it'll be spaced out. And then I'll continue to go around the base of the vase and just spacing them out as you see me do there. So I'll be putting down 5 blocks spaced out. I didn't measure the space between each block, but I would say it's about 1/2 inch. Okay, so now I'm gonna start hot gluing them together, and I'm gonna start by adding one block on top of the edge of the other two. It kind of looks like I'm forming a bridge. And now I'll be going in now for the second one, and I'll do exactly the same thing, forming that bridge. And here I'm just gonna pull it away from the vase just so that you can see that all those blocks are glued together. And so that takes care of one half of the vase, and now I'm gonna create another one. So I'm just gonna slide that portion to the back side, and then I'll start creating another form just like I did to the first one. So basically, by attaching one block between the other bottom two, you are actually building the bottom row and the second row at the same time. Once the glue is completely dry, you can remove the vase, and now you have this ring right here. And as you can see, it has a bottom row and a top row. So I'm gonna put the vase back into the ring, and I'm gonna now work on the third row, and I'll be doing the same steps, is just adding one block between the other two blocks and just forming that bridge. And I'm just gonna go around the ring, and I will continue to go around it until I'm at the very top of the vase. And this is how my vase turned out once I reached the top. Now, if you wanted to, you can go ahead and paint this. You can just remove the glass out and paint the blocks whatever color you want, or you can actually stain it. So it's really up to you, or if you just like the natural look, you can just leave it as is. Now you can see some spacing between the blocks, and that's because I kind of got thrown off here and there when I was gluing them, but it's okay because in the end, it all worked out. This can also be used to hold some kitchen utensils also. Now for the second smaller vase, I'm gonna do exactly the same thing, except I'm only gonna go halfway or a third of the way of the vase. And that's because this is gonna be used as a candle holder, and so I want part of the candle to be exposed through the glass. And so this is how my candle holder turned out, and I only had these blocks left over. So as you can see, that 2 packs is enough to create this DIY. Next project, I'm going to be using the sponge brushes from the Crafter Square collection, and I'm also going to be using some of this yarn. You can find both of these items at Dollar Tree. I'm also going to be using some of these wooden beads, and these I got them at Walmart, but I know that Dollar Tree is carrying some wooden beads. I haven't come across any, but I do hear that there is some out there. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna do is take out 2 of the sponge brushes out, and basically what I'm gonna do is use the handle. I am gonna remove the sponge from the top of the handle, and all I'm gonna do is give it a little twist and then just pull it out. So what I'm gonna be doing with these is creating some mini macrame wall decor. So to create the fringe, what I did is get a piece of cardboard, which is probably like maybe 8 inches long, and then I wrapped the yarn around several times, about maybe 20 to 25 times around, but I did have to do extra strings, so I had to go back and add some more. Then I slipped it off the cardboard, And then I slid the piece of wood underneath the yarn, just as you see me do there. And then I kind of separated it, just wanting to see what it would look like before I would add the hot glue onto the piece of wood. Okay, so here it goes. I went ahead and I put some hot glue on top of the piece of wood, as you see me do there. And then I very carefully slipped my yarn over it. And then I kind of patted down the yarn so that the glue would stick to it. And as you see, there's an area that I still need some more yarn, so I had to add additional yarn to it. And now to create the fringe, I went ahead and I took my scissors and I cut the bottom of the ring. Next, I'll be using these clear rubber bands, and what I'm going to do with them is create a pattern on my fringe. Now this is really simple, so what I did is just grab several strings of the yarn and then I added the rubber band as if I was putting it on as a ponytail. And then with my fingernails, I just pushed the rubber band up against the piece of wood. And then I just continued to move along. I continued grabbing about 5 to 6 pieces of strands and then adding the rubber band, pushing the rubber band all the way on top to the piece of wood and make sure that it was nice and secure. I actually tied it twice. One thing to note is the more yarn that you hang over your piece of wood, the thicker that your fringe will be. Also, remember that I said in the beginning that these are for my RV, and my RV has smaller walls to hang things. But if you wanted to make a bigger one, you can always get a longer piece of dowel and of course make your yarn longer so that you can put it on a wall in your home that just needs something and you just didn't know what to put on there. I love the boho style because it's just so modern and chic at the same time. I don't know, I really love this style. I'd love your thoughts on this. Do you like the boho style? Or do you not like it? Just let me know down below what are your thoughts on it. Because if there's a lot of you that really like it as I do, I can create some more. I just really need some feedback from you all. Next, I'm going to take my scissors and just cut the fringe, and that way I can have a nice clean line. Okay, so now I'm going to start on the second row, and I'm going to do the same thing, is just get my rubber band and just make my little ponytail. But this time I'm going to go down just a bit, and you'll see what I mean once the rubber band is put. Now I'm going to push it down to where I want it to be. And now I'm going to continue with the rest of the fringes, adding the second rubber band. And now using some more yarn, I'm going to go ahead and create my hanger. And for that, I use 2 strands. So I tied it on one end of the wood and then tied it on the opposite end as well. And then for this one, I decided that I wanted to have a V shape, so I cut one side on one angle, and then I went to the opposite side and cut the other one in an angle as well. Next, I wanted to make a string of wood beads. So what I did is create a needle made out of just a plain wire. And so I made a loop. And then once I did that, I passed some yarn through the little loop. And then I added some wood beads through it. And then I just continued to add the wood beads until my desired length. And then lastly, I tied my wood string to my hanger. This one here is the second one that I made. I followed the same steps as the first one. The difference with this one is the bottom fringe is just squared off. You guys, this is going to be so simple, this next project. So we're going to be using a Dollar Tree small towel shower mat. And I'm calling it a towel because that's what it feels like to me. This is something that Dollar Tree always has. And I'm also going to be using this dowel. Now this is something that I purchased at Walmart a while back for another project, but I didn't get to use it. And I'm also going to be using some of this yarn also from Dollar Tree. Okay, so I'm going to start by laying my mat down as you see me do there, and then I'm just going to fold it over. So this is the bottom side of the mat and this is the top part of the mat. But what I want is the bottom side, and that's what I'm going to use as my decorative piece of cloth. Okay, so I'm going to take my dowel and I'm going to slip it under my fold as you see me do right there. And then once I have the desired length of cloth that I want, I'm going to flip it back open, and then I'm going to add some hot glue along the side of the dowel and then flip my cloth back over so that it can glue onto my mat. And now I'm going to cut the piece of cloth that I'm not going to be needing. So I'm just going to cut along the side of the dowel as you see me do right there. Okay, next I'm going to make a pom-pom, and in total I'm going to make 8 of them. So I'm going to show you how I make my pom-poms. So I wrap it around my 4 fingers as you see me do there, and I go about 25 to 30 times around. Once I stop, I go ahead and I cut my yarn, and then I take the end of the yarn that I just cut and I loop it through the center as you see me do right there. And then I pull it through long enough to where I can have a good size of string, and then I cut it, and then I end up making a knot. I just bring the knot all the way down to the top of my loop. So I go ahead and I make 2 knots on it. And then I lay my pom-pom down and I go ahead and I cut another piece of yarn. And then I wrap it around my pom-pom as you see me do right there, and then I tie it twice. And then I go ahead and I cut my fringe just so that I have a nice clean line. Okay, so this is the front side of my wall decor. Now I'm going to flip it over to the back side, and I'm going to go ahead now and hot glue all my pom-poms down at the bottom. And now I'm just going to cut that extra piece of yarn. Now I'm going to turn it over, and this will be the front side, and this is how it's looking so far. Now next what I'm going to do is just trim off some of the little fringes from the bottom of the pom-poms just to make them look nice and even. And then after that I'm going to tie a hanger up at the top so I can hang it. For the hanger I use the same yarn, and I just doubled up and then tied them on each end. And that's it for this project. This was so easy to make. I'd love to hear from y'all. Please let me know which one was your favorite. For this DIY, I'm going to be using some gold spray paint, and this is the Rust-Oleum 2X Ultra Cover Metallic. A picture frame with a stand, and this is from Dollar Tree. And I'm also going to be using this mesh wire, and this comes from the Dollar Tree mesh wire baskets. And I'll also be using these foil rub-on stickers. So I started by flipping my picture frame to the back side because that's where I'm mainly going to work at. Next, I place the mesh behind, as you can see, and what I'm going to do here is just cut just what I need to cover the back side of the picture frame only. And so all I did is use my ruler as my guide, and then I went in with a white marker to mark off where I needed to cut. And I went ahead and I did that to all 4 edges. And then with just a regular pair of scissors, I went ahead and I cut the wire. And as you can see, now that I've cut it, this is how it's gonna look once I place it in the back side. But before I do that, I'm gonna take this outside and go spray paint it with the gold spray paint. Since I'm not gonna be needing the plastic this frame came with, what I'm gonna do is just remove it. And I'm kind of just gonna wiggle it with my fingers until it comes loose and it comes out. And now I'm ready to attach the mesh, and all I'm gonna do is just place it on the back side and add some hot glue all the way around. And I used a rubber spatula so I wouldn't burn myself. And this is how the front side looks, and this is the back side. And then with the foil stickers, I went ahead and I cut the roses out and I placed it there on the side of the frame, and all I did was just rub it with my fingers and then just peel off the paper. I'll be using these stackable drawers from Dollar Tree. So what I did is I took out the drawer and then I gave it a coat of spray paint in the color white. And then once the paint was dry, I went ahead and I put some of this strips of tape in the back side, and then I hung them on the wall. Now I decided to use this tape, that way I could move them around if I wanted to. And then once I hung them on the wall, I gave them a little press just to make sure that the tape had adhered to the wall. To the first container, I added some pens, markers, pencils, and I even added a pair of scissors. And then to the top container, I added some flowers. I love how this turned out. I will be adding some more containers to my wall. Let me know what you think. For this next project, I'll be using these Dollar Tree wire baskets. Okay, so I went ahead and I laid out my 3 baskets, and what I'm gonna do is zip tie them all together. As a DIYer, I'm always buying flower bouquets. I usually put them in some large bin and I just stuff them in there, but sometimes they get all squished and things like that. So I decided to do something very functional and easy for me, just to store my bouquets where they wouldn't get all squished up. And this is what I came up with. So I took this Dollar Tree door rack and I hung it over my door, and then I placed my new flower holder. And there you go. Now I have a place to put my flowers and they won't get all squished. Let me know what you think of this DIY. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and also ring the bell icon so that you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. Well, you have yourself a wonderful day, and I will see you on my next video. Bye-bye, and God bless.